Today is the final episode this week where we've been talking about wills all through the week, and today we're going to tell you about the mistakes one needs to avoid while making a will. Firstly, Feroze, not having a will is the biggest mistake one can make in their living life.
Correct. So not having a will is not a good idea. So make a will is the first point we should make to all our viewers. Of course, we have been talking about this for the last few days, but I think it's important to have a will and make sure that the will is clear, specific, and all the assets are written in as much detail as possible so that the ambiguity doesn't exist. Because when you're writing something down, there is a large probability that the interpretation of that could be different. So being as specific, as detailed, as meticulous is a very good idea. That's point 2 in my opinion, Samina.
How important is it to write and draft the will correctly? Because we talked about how technical glitches and mistakes should be avoided.
See, drafting a will is not maybe a very common task, right? So you will have to take the help of a lawyer, or today there are online platforms which help you make a will and help you go through that process really reasonably simple, and the cost of making it could be as little as 500 to 1000 rupees. So drafting a will correctly, one is to learn it yourself or take a professional help if it's available at minuscule cost because of technological development in our times. So I think drafting a will is important. So to do that, take support, take professional help. If you can't afford a one-on-one discussion with a lawyer to make your will, then it's very important to use the technological platform. Online will creation is a practice, and there are platforms which will help you and assist you make a good will. So using that is a good idea.
How important is the signature? I believe that's one of the most important features of a will.
Correct. So when you're making signatures on the will, make sure that every page is signed. It's not just the front on the back page which needs a signature, or people generally make a signature at the last page. A detailed will, it is but obvious that will run into a few pages. If it runs into a few pages, signing or creating a thumb impression, if you can sign, the signature is a better idea because thumb impressions are not as legitimate as a signature could be. Signing all pages, like you mentioned, Samina, is a good point to make to our viewers. So they should sign all the pages of a will.
How important is ensuring your declarations are in place?
See, having all your declarations are very important, because anything which is not declared and has ambiguity can cause several years of litigation. So having declarations is a very important thing, and I think if you used a lawyer, he will take you through the process of making sure that the declarations are in place. Maybe the online platforms are not so good when it comes to this point which Samina made, having the declarations, but I think using professional help, if the assets are large enough, you need to take professional help, and declarations is one thing you have to remind your lawyer to make that they are infused in your will to avoid any kind of ambiguity and interpretation in the will.
Feroze, very often we hear about people saying that they've written a will on a piece of paper. I mean, that's how vague it has gotten, or it is in our day and age and in our country. But that's not good enough, is there? You've got to be specific. It's got to be detailed, right?
Yeah, the unfortunate part is making a will has been made so simple. Because it is so simple, anything which is simple to create, it is very simple to dispute. So people can be rushing to a hospital with 2 witnesses in the ambulance, and you can create a will on a piece of paper. But be rest assured that it is not strong enough to stand the test of a merit in the court of law. So it's important that you put in enough thought. You not spending a weekend or 2 on drafting a will and doing it very lethargically or very casually might result in problems which several people in the past have faced. So coming back to what I recommend strongly is to make a will which is elaborate. Make sure that the will is registered, and I can't emphasize enough for the registration of the will because it brings in more legal status to it. Third, don't make it on a piece of paper. Make it on and get your will notarized and then registered if need be. So I think think just making it very casual can be a easy source of dispute, and that could run into years of legal battle before your assets could transmit itself to the legal people who deserve that money. I think it's important to not take it as casually as you can in terms of process.
Feroze, unless it is a very later stage in life, there will be changes and amendments one will need to make to a will. Either you get richer, you get poorer, you add some assets, take away some, lose some of your beneficiaries, gain some more. How important is it to keep your will updated?
Samina, again, a very important question from you, empathizing with anybody who's writing a will very clearly. So when you're writing a will, it is but sure that if this will has to be valid 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years or 15 years now, there is going to be changes on your assets. So it is but obvious that you will have to make changes to the will so that it is updated. Every year when a corporate can make its balance sheet, why is it not important for an individual to make the balance sheet and make sure that all assets which have come afresh or left the balance sheet need to be updated? So I think it has to be a yearly frequency. Viewers end up asking, how often do I review my portfolio? I think reviewing a will every year is a very important one-year frequency item, because the corporate makes a balance sheet every year. Why shouldn't an individual make one and transmit that new shape of the balance sheet to the will which you've created last year?
Feroze, what happens when your beneficiaries are minors? How does that work?
See, whenever your beneficiaries are minor, you have to appoint a guardian to take care of the assets. It's a very important point, Samina, again, because if you have minors, a part of your beneficiary list, by the time you know more, they might have gone into the major status, or they could still be minors. If there are minors currently, hoping that they will be majors by the time you know more might be a wrong hypothesis or a wrong assumption. So make sure that you put a guardian to every minor beneficiary so that the assets can be kept well till the time the person is major from a legal standpoint and has the sanity to take care of that asset well and keep it for long enough, as long as he can produce and productively use those assets. So having a guardian for minor legatees or minor beneficiaries is an important point which people miss out. Even when you're looking at estate of large quantums of HNI clients, you see minors part of the beneficiary list, but not having a guardian clearly mentioned to those assets when the person is a minor.
Well, those are all the mistakes you want to avoid while you make your will. Have a good weekend, and thanks for watching. Thanks, Feroze.